Watch small boat migrants celebrate, arriving in Britain illegally, humiliating Keir Starmer as he announced a crackdown on immigration. The PM said routes to legal migrants would be tightened.
Today, this Labour government is shutting down the lab. The experiment is over. We will deliver what you've asked for time and again, and we will take back control of our borders. And let me tell you why. Because I know, on a day like today, people who like politics will try to make this all about politics, about this or that strategy, targeting these voters, responding to that party. No. I'm doing this because it is right, because it is fair, and because it is what I believe in. Let me put it this way. Nations depend on rules, fair rules. Sometimes they're written down, often they're not. But either way, they give shape to our values, guide us towards our rights, of course, but also our responsibilities, the obligations we owe to each other. Now, in a diverse nation like ours, and I celebrate that, these rules become even more important. Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together. So when you have an immigration system that seems almost designed to permit abuse, that encourages some businesses to bring in lower paid workers rather than invest in our young people, or simply one that is sold by politicians to the British people on an entirely false premise, then you're not championing growth, you're not championing justice, or however else people defend the status quo. You're actually contributing to the forces that are slowly pulling our country apart. So as this white paper sets out, every area of the immigration system, work, family and study, will be tightened up so we have more control. Skill requirements raised to degree level. English language requirements across all routes, including for dependents. The time it takes to acquire settled status extended from 5 years to 10. And enforcement tougher than ever, because fair rules must be followed. Now, make no mistake, this plan means migration will fall.
Illegal immigration reached a new record, more than 12,000 small boat arrivals since the start of the year, despite the Prime Minister promising to get tough.
He didn't mention the small boats at all in the speech. He was going to be telling, particularly as you're breaking news today, 12,000 people have arrived illegally this year, another record.
Well, listen, his speech, he wanted really to focus on the issues around legal migration, but they're all intertwined.
Yeah.
The small boats crisis is the most visible manifestation of the immigration crisis as a whole. It's what people see as individuals breaking into our country, circumventing our borders, to then, in many cases, perhaps abuse the asylum system with a view to getting to stay in the UK. It's a highly contentious issue, and yes, you're right. On that very day that he brings forth these new plans, we can confirm that 12,000 small boat migrants have now crossed since the beginning of the year. That's well over 35% up on where we were this time last year. In fact, this time last year, it was June before we hit 10,000 migrants who'd crossed the English Channel.
We know this is all because of reform, because I was just checking. He had something called, in his manifesto, he had mission statement, first steps, milestones. That was the last one, the milestones, were in December, 8 milestones. Didn't mention cutting elite migration. No mention of it, Mark. He's only doing this North London Liberal lawyer, because of the reform surge in the polls.
Well, we can see that the white paper has been months in gestation. It might be argued, and you may well have a strong point here, that it's assumed a new priority, and perhaps some of the measures in the white paper have been sort of stepped up in the light of the successes that reform has been having. There's no doubt, just listening to the language there, it was a tougher language in terms of what he wants to do in reducing the number of migrants who are coming across here who are not skilled and who are, as the Prime Minister believes, pulling the wages down, and the wages down because they're coming in and doing the jobs cheaper. I mean, it was. What's interesting, I think, and I've had a copy of the white paper through, so I'm just going to start pouring through that now to see the detail. I've got a briefing a little later as well. There wasn't much detail in what the Prime Minister said. Some of it has been briefed out, obviously, over the weekend. But we know already that we are on a downward trajectory, whatever this government might say, because of policies that the previous government introduced around stopping students from bringing their dependents over and stopping many other employed sectors from bringing dependents over, from raising the threshold for salaries for certain skilled jobs. So it's going down. And it's estimated, I think, that these changes might bring it down another 50, 60, 70,000. But we're still talking, several hundreds of thousands, maybe 500,000 net migration this year when the figures come out a week on Thursday. That's nowhere near enough as far as most people in the country are concerned.
Well, it was interesting, was it? Because he gave this very anti-migration speech based on this white paper. And it was the final question from one of the reporters who said to him, would he disapply the ECHR to appeals to remain in this country? And he said, no. And he stepped right back into his human rights lawyer's shoes, didn't he? He stepped right back into his legal shoes. And he said, no, because we have to fulfil our obligations on the global legal stage. And we're like, well, that, my friend, is who you are.
Yeah.
Why are you still pretending that you're not?
North London Liberal lawyer. That's what
this is what you're up against. And it was the same with the previous government. They wouldn't step away from that either, because they're all being instructed by lawyers within the governmental departments who are telling them that you can't do that.
Minister. Can't do that, Minister.
Yeah, so they don't. And then you have a system whereby those who are advocating on behalf of migrants, illegal migrants and asylum seekers have really got their act together over the last decade and are now very well versed in being able to apply the most obscure legislation to their appeals with a way to ensuring that their clients get leave to remain in this country. We've seen ridiculous examples about that, with chicken nuggets being cited as a reason to stay.
The route seen by many as the way to finally cut illegal immigration is to leave the European Court of Human Rights, something Keir Starmer said he wasn't prepared to do.
Does going further mean disentangling ourselves from the ECHR and disapplying human rights laws in immigration cases?
No, I don't think that is necessary. I also remind myself that the international agreements we've signed have given us the basis for the deals that we've struck on illegal migration.
Starmer is thought to have beefed up his immigration white paper after a thumping in the local elections by Reform UK.
The results are disappointing. We get it. We were elected in last year to bring about change. That's what people desperately want.
Nigel Farage dismissed the announcement as insincere, asking what the Prime Minister believed in.
Keir Starmer has spent his whole career campaigning for free movement of people, wholly unconcerned about this subject, so much so that their massive parliamentary majority was gained without immigration even being one of their five main priorities. Now, of course, he knows that amongst the great British public, this issue rates even higher than the health service, and he's just basically playing catch-up with reform. Now, I mean, many of the things he said are the same things I've been saying for over 20 years, and that's Starmer's problem. Insincerity. What does this man actually believe in, other than trying to keep power?
Robert Jenrick had even stronger language, accusing Labour of lying about cutting immigration.
It looked like a hostage situation where he was reading out words that somebody else had written for him. We know what he believes. His life, his career, his whole worldview is about open borders. He's just another politician telling lies, saying what he thinks the public want to hear, but not taking any action. Nothing he said yesterday is going to stop the boats. It's not going to bring down legal migration to the historic levels that we want to see. It's not going to get the 1 million people in our country who are here illegally out of our country, deport them. It's not going to get the 12,000 foreign criminals in our prisons, out of our country. What we have to do is take serious action. No more lies, serious action. And what we're saying is that is a legally binding cap set by
legally
Parliament,
binding
so people
cap.
can have confidence that this time people actually mean it. And secondly, we need to ensure that we change those human rights laws and have the Human Rights Act cut out, so no more vexatious claims, no more fake actions by illegal migrants and their lawyers. You can get those people out of our country and end the merry-go-round of ludicrous legal actions that are frustrating the system today.
Reform's Richard Tice had said prior to Starmer's speech that the party could dump illegal migrants on left-wing Lib Dem and Green councils.
There's a report in the Telegraph, I believe it is, saying that Reform is going to court to shut asylum hotels. How will that actually work in practice? Because people might rightly ask, well, where are you going to put asylum seekers?
So we've got a brilliant Casey and a team of lawyers acting on a pro bono, no-cost basis. They've already started work, and we will be using every possible legal lever to try to resist bringing asylum seekers, whether it's into hotels or housing, in the councils we control. So, for example, in Lincolnshire, where we've just won control of the council, I've got an asylum seeker hotel in Skegness. And, yeah, we will be looking at every possible lever, whether it's...
them where?
Oh, very simple. The Greens and the Lib Dems are rather keen on them in their councils. So, in the nicest possible way, you're welcome, folks.
Oh, you're going to emulate the policy of, I think it's a Texas governor, isn't it?
No,
Greg Abbott decided over in America, this is an American idea, that if you're very welcoming to migrants in Democrat areas, you're welcome to them. Are you seriously saying this?
Well, but that's the
How
joy
are
of
you
democracy.
going to make this work legally?
Our voters have said we don't want illegal immigration. We don't want mass uncontrolled immigration. And what they're saying to us, they've given us a mandate to do all we can in the councils that we control to stop this illegal immigration.
So which areas are you going to move these migrants to, sorry?
Well, at the end of the day, that's a matter for the government. I'm just making the point.
Is it workable, this, Richard Tice?
I'm making the point
that we will send them to Bristol?
We will put every... No, you're missing the point. The point is we resist the use of hotels and housing, and we will use a variety of levers and legal mechanisms to try to make it unlawful for them in our areas. And then it's up to the government to send them somewhere else.
Are you being serious in this idea that you would like to...
Deadly serious. Meetings are taking place this week.
No, about moving them to migrant-welcome areas.
Look, I'm just slightly teasing the Lib Dems and the Greens because they seem so keen on asylum seekers. And we can have a little bit of fun in politics amongst all the seriousness.
Indeed we can.
He also rubbished new measures.
Well, this is what we expect from the two main parties, Labour and the Tories. They talk the talk, lots of words and waffle, but there's not a single target, a single number in this white paper as we understand.
Nicholas Dunning, GB News.